Why not allow a homosexual couple to marry? Well, I'll give you 3 simple reasons. Number 1, because of what it does to the institution of marriage. If marriage is no longer defined as one man and one woman, then how is it defined? If marriage does not have definition, then anyone or any group of people could marry. Not only 2 men or 2 women, but what about a man and 2 women, or 3 men and 2 women? Or as in the Netherlands, there's a gentleman who has filed a lawsuit now to be married to his animal. What is to prevent a mother from marrying a son? What's to prevent a brother from marrying a sister? We have laws in this country that define marriage to be able to protect the institution of marriage. And when there's a threat to marriage anywhere, there's a threat to marriage everywhere. And so what would happen is that same-sex marriage, along with heterosexual one-man, one-woman marriage, would be equated and be taught to our children and to the young people of this state as being identical without any difference or distinguishing characteristic at all. That's what's happening in Massachusetts today. In fact, keep the name David Parker in mind. David Parker's 5-year-old kindergartner was at school when he was taught about transgender and homosexual relationships in conjunction with teaching about traditional families. David's 5-year-old boy was upset by this. And when David found out his son was taught this, he went to the school and asked them to stop this and to inform him of when they would be teaching this material to his 5-year-old. Well, the principal told David that he would not be informed of when these things would be taught and that he should change his views on it because he's discriminating. So David filed a lawsuit in federal court to at least be notified when his 5-year-old's going to be taught about transgender relationships and homosexual relationships. Do you know that 2 years to the day after the Supreme Court of Massachusetts overturned the Defense of Marriage Act and declared same-sex marriage constitutional, that David Parker's son, as a first grader, was ganged up upon on the playground and was beaten, and that David was not notified about it, and that not a single one of those children were given a suspension, but yet there have been numerous children suspended in Massachusetts for just making a reference to a gay lifestyle. Friend, this destroys marriage. I'll tell you the second reason is because of what it does to gender. Basically, this removes gender as being important to the family. Because when you say that a same-sex couple is a legitimate marriage, and when you give it the same legitimacy you do heterosexual one-man, one-woman marriage, then what you say is that not either one of the genders is essential for a home. You don't have to have mothers, you don't have to have fathers. And so what you say to the children is that your gender is not essential for the society, it's not essential for marriage, it's not essential to your home. And so you basically take gender out of life. In fact, the homosexual movement would have us to believe that gender is a choice. And judges in their decisions have said gender is fully a choice. Did you know that your child will be called upon to choose their gender? And if you seek to sway them in their decision, then you could be in trouble for discriminating against a gender, even though your child may be a male or a female. So it takes gender out of life. This is dangerous. But then thirdly, for what it does to society. Remember the name Linda Contreras. Linda met a man named Michael Contreras here in the state of Florida. They had a relationship together, and as they drew closer to one another, Michael informed Linda that he was actually a female. Even though he'd had a mastectomy and a hysterectomy, he was a female and was born Margot Contreras. Well, Linda cared for Michael, and they stayed together and had a homosexual relationship. Michael was taking testosterone at the time and dressing as a male, and he went down to the Seminole County Courthouse and obtained a marriage license as a man. And he was able to marry Linda as a woman, even though Michael was Margot and was a woman. Well, Linda had a son. He adopted the son under the guise that Michael was a male when really he was a female. And then they had a child, and the way they had a child was that Michael, who's really Margot, had his brother donate some sperm, and Linda was artificially inseminated with that sperm, and she conceived a child and bore the child. So they had 2 children. Linda came to know Jesus Christ, and when she did, she was convicted about her homosexual relationship, and she left the relationship. Michael, however, since they were married, even though their marriage was suspect because he was not a male, he contacted attorneys in San Francisco, and they came to Florida and sued for divorce and custody of the children. And do you know that Michael won custody of the children because Linda discriminated against homosexuals? And in the judge's ruling here in our state of Florida, the judge's ruling said that gender was a choice and that Linda was not fit to be a parent because of what she believed about this issue. She lost her children, and it took over a year for her to get them back. Matt Staver with the Liberty Counsel defended her in the appeal process, and she won. Linda Forsythe received her children again, though they were taken from her. Do you understand, dear friend? If we ratify same-sex marriage and still hold the convictions that it's wrong, then we will have our children taken from us in situations where there's divorce because we're no longer fit to be parents because we discriminate against a same-sex couple. Dear friend, why not allow gays to marry or homosexuals to marry? Because of what it does to marriage, because of what it does to gender, because of what it does to society. In the Netherlands, since they approved same-sex marriage, children born out of wedlock have increased by 2% a year in the Netherlands. You understand that same-sex marriage has not produced marriage. Only 5% of the same-sex couples marry. Instead, what it has produced is that couples no longer marry. They just live together. This will hurt society.